It is the height of summer, 1870, in New York City. We're standing across the street from the opulent Fifth Avenue Hotel, looking at a large, four-story brownstone at number 12 West 23rd Street. Inside that lavish home, a Wall Street broker lay dead, brutally murdered. The doors were locked, the city was quiet, and the body is still warm. How did the killer get in? How did they escape? And why did they target a man who was known for his immense generosity? Hello friends, my name is Marcia, and this is Midwest Murders, where we explore the unsolved cases that still haunt America. This is the story of Benjamin Nathan. In 1870, New York City was growing fast, caught between the polish of high society and the realities of a city still learning how to police itself. West 23rd Street sat at the center of that divide. The brownstones there were symbols of wealth and status, and the Nathan family lived in one of the most desirable of them, directly across from the grand Fifth Avenue Hotel, where gaslit halls, marble floors, and a constant stream of carriages defined the rhythm of upper-class life. Despite this polished surface, the city struggled with problems simmering just below it. Crime was rising. Corruption plagued local politics, and detectives had few reliable investigative tools. Beneath the elegance, New York was struggling to keep pace with its own growth. In this environment, an intersection of wealth, influence, and a city still struggling to find its way, the murder of Benjamin Nathan shocked New York. A brutal killing inside a private home in one of the safest and wealthiest parts of Manhattan forced the city to confront a darker truth. Even here, in the heart of privilege, no one was completely safe. Benjamin Nathan was not just another wealthy New Yorker. He was a highly respected figure in the community. At 57 years old, he was a well-known Wall Street broker and was married to Emily G. Nathan. Together, they had 12 children, including sons Frederick, age 28, and Washington, age 22, who were with him that night. His 26-year-old son Harmon was also in the city that night, but was not staying at the brownstone. His connections were deep. He was the brother-in-law of Judge Cardoza, but it was his commitment to charity that defined him. He was the president of Mount Sinai Hospital and a co-founder of the Hebrew Benevolent and Orphan Asylum Society. He gave generously of both his time and his money. He also lived lavishly, surrounding his family with every comfort and luxury money could provide. On the night of the murder, Benjamin had planned to stay just a night or two at the brownstone. He and his family had been at their country home in Morristown, New Jersey, but Benjamin had returned to the city for the sole purpose of offering prayers in the synagogue for the soul of his deceased mother on the anniversary of her death. The timeline of Benjamin's final night is pieced together through reports from his family and staff. On the evening of July 28, 1870, Benjamin had eaten dinner around 6 p.m. and then left the brownstone, returning home at about 10 p.m. Because the house was undergoing extensive remodeling, the bedrooms were in disarray, and he had asked his housekeeper, Mrs. Ann Kelly, to prepare a bed for him in the second-floor reception room. He ended up sleeping on a pile of 4 mattresses. Later that night, son Frederick returned to the brownstone at about midnight and spoke briefly with his father, who was in bed but still awake. Son Washington returned around 12:20 a.m., stepped into the reception room, but found his father asleep. Both sons retired to their bedrooms on the 3rd floor. Mrs. Kelly was asleep in a rear room on the 2nd floor, and her adult son, William Kelly, was asleep on the 4th floor. Meanwhile, outside, Patrolman John Mangum passed the brownstone at 1:30 a.m. and again at 4:30 a.m. He tested the front and basement doors and found them secure. He noted it was unusually quiet, with the heavy rain that had rolled through earlier in the evening driving everyone inside. Just after 6 a.m. the following morning, Washington went downstairs to the reception room, expecting to find his father awake. What he found instead was his father lying lifeless in the doorway. John Govern, the porter at the Fifth Avenue Hotel, was hosing the sidewalk opposite the brownstone at 6:15 a.m. when Washington and Frederick raised the alarm. Govern noted blood on Frederick's nightshirt and initially thought the son had been stabbed. Patrolman Mangum rushed back to the scene and found Benjamin on the floor between his library and the reception room. He felt for a pulse and, finding the body still warm, immediately summoned a doctor from the Fifth Avenue Hotel. But it was too late. Benjamin was dressed in his nightshirt and covered with blood. He had sustained deep cuts on his face and head. The blood spatter indicated a violent struggle that took place in the doorway. He'd suffered 15 blows to the head, and several fingers on his left hand were fractured. Investigators found the safe open and empty. A box from the safe was found sitting on the makeshift bed. A gold pocket watch and 3 diamond shirt studs were reportedly taken. However, his pocketbook was left untouched. There were several other safes in the house that were untouched as well. Family members believed only documents and a few bonds were kept in the safes, and little, if any, money. The apparent weapon was a piece of iron pipe about 18 inches long. Police found it at the front door, although testimony at the inquest placed it beside the body. Given the violence, police initially theorized there were at least 2 assailants and 2 weapons. Since the doors and windows were securely locked, the initial police theory was that the attackers must have hidden inside the house and made their escape through the front door after Washington returned home the night before, although he remembered locking and bolting the door. A significant blunder occurred almost immediately when police took Frederick's blood-stained nightshirt for a cursory inspection and then returned it to the family. When police realized days later that they should perform a chemical examination to see if the blood was fresh or coagulated, they asked for its return, but it had already been sent out for washing. However, it does seem that police controlled the scene, with Patrolman Mangum limiting access to the house until other police officers arrived. They were also thorough in their interviewing of potential witnesses. Dr. Peckham, whose home was just 20 to 25 feet away and whose windows looked into the Nathan house, reported hearing heavy, muffled sounds around 2 a.m., which he thought were related to someone moving around inside the Nathan home, but he assumed the house was adequately guarded. Mrs. Kelly was also awakened by a noise that she said sounded like a body falling, but she didn't investigate as she too felt the house was adequately guarded. A young newsboy came forward to report that he usually stopped on the front steps of the Nathan home to fold his papers when it was raining because the Nathan porch was covered. That morning at about 5 a.m., he went up the steps and saw that the front door was open. Thinking the servants were up early and about to clean the entrance, he went to the porch of the house next door to fold his papers. As he was folding them, he saw a workman walking down the street, stop at the Nathan porch to pick up a piece of paper lying on the top step, and then walk on. The importance of this paper and the identity of the man has never been discovered. It's important to note here that when Washington came out of the house to summon help just after 6 a.m., he reported that the front door was unlocked, but it was closed. Police developed several theories. One theory suggested the crime was committed by workmen remodeling the house, gaining entrance through the stable and using a covered carriage to drive away. This was debunked when a suspicious carriage seen parked nearby was found to belong to men who were visiting a brothel several blocks away. Eventually, the police revised their theory, suggesting the killer was a family member or an employee. They suspected that the box from the safe that was placed on the bed and the iron pipe that was placed by the front door were staged to ward off suspicion. Notably, the iron pipe was not typical house material, but would have been found in the stable. While no one was officially charged, the public certainly suspected Washington. He was the last person who saw his father alive and the one who ultimately discovered the body. An eccentric man known as George the Count Jonas interrupted the inquest, insisting he knew the murderer. He shared a narrative gained from questioning a jailhouse prisoner that 2 burglars were attempting to open the safe when Benjamin woke up and cried out, "Harmon, is that you?" before being knocked out and beaten. The murder of Benjamin Nathan sent shockwaves through the city. The New York Stock Exchange ordered an adjournment until the following Monday, and local citizens were profoundly disappointed in the handling of the case, calling the police investigation miserably inefficient. A massive reward of $57,000 was offered for information. That's equivalent to about $1.4 million in today's money. Benjamin Nathan's funeral was an incredible display of community grief. Held at his home, his rosewood casket lay in state in the parlor. Approximately 5,000 people stood outside in the streets. The attendees reflected his wide influence, including the rich, the poor, ministers, priests, rabbis, stock exchange board members, and leaders of charitable organizations. The funeral procession was an immense 50-carriage cortege. In a strange display, the carriage holding his 2 sons was surrounded by police to prevent the curious public from getting too close to the vehicle, and the curtains remained drawn. Even today, the Nathan case is defined by questions of staging and missing time. We have conflicting testimony about the pipe. Was it found by the body or at the front door? If it was moved, who moved it and why? Was this just an accepted practice before modern police investigation techniques? We also have the mystery of the safe. At some point before the police captain arrived, Washington had closed it. Why did he do this? Was he trying to keep items that had not been taken safe? Or did the safe contain something else he wished to conceal? We also have the question of the diamond shirt studs. Police noted in their reports that gold shirt studs were on the clothing Benjamin had worn the previous evening, but other reports said diamond ones were missing from his clothing, leading to confusion about what was actually taken. Finally, the timeline itself remains elusive. The time windows reported by various witnesses, from the newsboy who saw the door standing open at 5 a.m. to the patrolman checking the doors at 1:30 and 4:30 a.m. and finding them locked, to the neighbor hearing muffled sounds at 2 a.m., do not always align neatly. This initial chaos makes it impossible to pinpoint the exact moment of the attack. The deepest tragedy here is the thought that Benjamin Nathan may have known his killer, that perhaps the appearance of a robbery was a cover-up. Benjamin Nathan was a pillar of 19th century New York, a generous man of high standing. He lived a life of comfort and wealth, yet his life ended violently on a simple night when he was there only to honor his deceased mother. The wealth that allowed him to live lavishly and support so many organizations may have been the very thing that attracted his killer. Yet the failure to secure crucial evidence like the blood-stained nightshirt and the confusion surrounding the potentially staged scene left the entire city believing that the system had failed. The Nathan murder remains one of New York's greatest unsolved mysteries, shadowed by the question of whether a true perpetrator was overlooked, or if the initial cry of "Harmon, is that you?" held the real answer. The curtain closed on this violent struggle, leaving behind only muffled sounds and conflicting accounts. What do you think happened in that locked brownstone? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.